Now sa video natin ngayon, let's try to apply Castigliano's theorem in more complex beams. Now this problem is from USC, and then using Castigliano's theorem daw, we have to determine the location and the value of the maximum deflection in millimeters between A and B, considering this beam. And then we have E equals 70 GPa and I is equal to 50 times 10 to the power of negative 6 m to the fourth. Now ito yung mga given natin. And then let's just convert I into mm to the fourth because we need the maximum deflection in millimeters kasi. And so to do that, we will multiply this by 1000 mm over 1m and then to the power of 4 para magka-cancel to. And so mm to the fourth na lang yung matitira. And so now let's try to solve this beam. But first, let's compute for the reactions muna. To get AY, we need to take moments about dito sa C. So, taking moments at C is equal to 0. That will be AY times 6 plus 3, which is 9. And then minus, again, this will have a resultant, which is 20 times 6. So, magiging 120. And then this will also have a resultant, which is 40 times 5, which is 200. So, this will be 200. And so, taking moments about C, AY times 9 minus 120 times the moment arm, which is half ng 6, which is 3, plus 3. So this will be 6. And then minus 200 multiplied by this distance, which is 2.5 minus 2 because this is 2.5. So 2.5 minus 2 is the distance from the resultant patungo dito sa C. So 2.5 minus 2. And then plus 50 multiplied by 2. And so we can obtain AY. And so AY will be 80 kN. AY equals 80 kN. So ito na yan. And then to solve for CY, we will just simply sum up forces vertical. So summing up forces vertical, we have 80 plus CY is equal to 120 plus 200 and then plus 50. And so our CY will be 290. And so this will be 290 kN. Now, the first thing we need to compute is the location of the maximum deflection. Now, if we will try to look at our beam, the location of the maximum deflection will naturally be within this segment from A to B. Now, bakit? That's because this length is greater than this length. And so, this will have the tendency to deflect more because you have a larger span compared dito. And so, let's assume that the maximum deflection will occur dito. Let's just say nandyan. And then we will label this as M prime. Again, we are applying a moment dito because we are trying to compute for the location at which the slope is 0. Kasi kung nasan 0 yung slope, nandyan yung maximum deflection. So, bale, yung elastic curve natin will look like this. Magiging ganito, and then andito yung maximum deflection, and then magiging ganyan. Now, this is just the assumption of the elastic curve. Basta yung essential dito is we are assuming a realistic location of the maximum deflection. Now, if this is the location of the maximum deflection, the slope here will be equal to 0. And then, let's try to label this as x, or the distance of the maximum deflection from the hinged support. And then, if this is x, then this will be from this point to this point, that will be 6 minus x. So this will be 6 minus x. And then, let's try to label this one as the location of the maximum deflection. Now, we have A, B, C, D, and so let's say this is E. And so we already have 4 segments, A to E, B to E, B to C, and C to D. Now, let's try to write that. We have our segments A to B, and then, sir, what will we consider from E to B or B to E? Now, considering E to B will be much simpler because we have a lot of loads dito, and so if we consider this part of the cut, then we will only have 2 loads. Ito, saka yung resultant dito. And so let's just use EB. And then let's try to consider CB to exclude the loads dito. And then, for this part, the overhanging part, let's just consider from D to C. But depende yan sa'yo kung ano yung mas convenient. Basta ito lang yung gagamitin ko. And then, let's try to determine our limits. Now, for the first segment, A to E, we have from 0 up to X. So, this is 0 to X. And then, for segment EB, which is this one, again, I'll just remove this one. Let's project a line dito. Our EB will be from 0 up to 6 minus x because ito yung distance ng segment na yan. So, 0 to 6 minus x. And then for CB, we have 0 to 3 meters. And then for DC, we have 0 to 2 meters. Now, let's try to form our M. But first, we have to compute for the reactions dito. Again, we will compute for a new reaction because nag-add tayo ng M prime dito. And so, I will just remove itong Kn and then I will solve for the new reactions dito. So, again, we will just retain the same value but meron itong plus minus m prime. Saka ito din. Now, let's try to determine kung ano yung sign na gagamitin. So, again, let's take moments about C. Diba? That will be 80 times 9 minus 120 times 6. And then minus 200 times 0.5, and then plus 50 times 2. And then don't forget na merong plus m prime because this is a clockwise movement, so plus m prime. Now again, this is AY. So our AY will be 920 minus m prime divided by 9, which will become, this is 720. So 720 over 9 will be 80, and then minus m prime divided by 9. And so this will be negative m prime over 9, and then this will be plus m prime divided by 9. Now you will be able to get this if you will sum up forces vertical. Now forming our moment equation, considering m prime, we have for segment AB 80 minus m prime over 9 multiplied by the moment arm, which is x. Kasi again, ito yung origin natin. This is our origin, and then we will move up to this segment. So this will be our cut, and then this is our x. And then minus wx squared over 2, where our w is itong 20. And so this will be 10x squared. And then for segment EB, we have 80 minus m prime over 9. Again, we have a new origin. From E to B. So that will be from here patungo dito sa B. And so this will be our x. So the moment this will cause is 80 minus m prime over 9 multiplied by this distance plus itong x. However, because we still do not know kung ano yung value ng x, that means na yung mas ideal na origin is from the right. Kasi hindi kasi natin alam tong x value dito. But our equation should be in terms of x. And so it will be difficult to manipulate the variables dito. And so instead of from E to B, I will just consider from B to E so that I will not be able to use this distance. So instead na andito yung cut, dito na lang yung origin ko from B and then going to this part dito. And then again, m prime will not be included because that's at the last part of the segment. And then itong cut kasi is just right before the segment. Now, this is what I meant kanina na when you are computing for the maximum deflection, always consider left to right for this one and then right to left for this one, for 6 minus x and for x. And so if this is our origin, this will be our x. And so I'll just remove this one. Now, this distance is 2.5 meters. And so if I will take moments about dito sa E, I will have the moment caused by this one. So that will be negative 10x squared, which is still from wx squared over 2. However, since our origin is from the right, we will change our convention. Clockwise moments will be negative, and then counterclockwise moments will be positive. And then since the resultant of this one will cause a clockwise moment about dito sa E, then we will have a negative na sign. Again, this is the resultant, which is 20x, and then the moment arm is x over 2. And so itong 10x squared is just galing lang din sa 20x times x over 2. If you are not aware of this. And then we also have for BE, we need to consider all loads to the right. So itong 50 saka itong 40 kasali din yan. And so yung 50 causes a clockwise moment about dito sa E. So that will be negative 50 times the moment arm, which is 2 plus 3 plus x. Again, patungo dito sa E yung moment natin. So, that will be 5 plus x. Now, kung isusulat natin yan, ito yan. This is 5 meters kasi 3 plus 2 and then plus itong x. Kaya 5 plus x to. And then next, we have itong 200 kN na load. Now, we will use the resultant because dito nagsa-start yung segment natin, hindi dito. So, we will use this resultant and then let's take its moment about dito sa E. Now, this distance is equal to 2.5 meters. So, 2.5 plus x, yan yung moment arm yan patungo dito sa E. So this will be, again, still minus because that will cause a clockwise moment. So minus 200 times 2.5 plus x. And then we also have cy, which is 290 plus m prime over 9. Now this force will cause a counterclockwise moment about dito sa E. So that will be positive. So plus 290 plus m prime over 9. We will multiply that by 3 plus x, because again, this is 3 meters, and then 3 plus x, that's the moment arm patungo sa E. So this will be 3 plus x. And then for CB, we have negative 50 times 2 plus x, because considering CB, ito na yung origin natin. From here, patungo dito. And then this will be our cut. So 50 times 2 plus x, yan yung moment patungo dito sa B. And then we also have 40, a distributed load of 40, which will cause a moment of negative wx squared over 2. So 40 divided by 2 is 20, and then multiplied by x squared. Ito yung sa distributed load. And then we also have cy, which is again plus, since this will cause a counterclockwise moment about dito sa B. So plus 290 plus m prime over 9 multiplied by x, kasi ito na yung distance natin. And then for segment DC, we will be considering this origin from here patungo dito. Now this will be x, and so our moment will be negative 50 times x for this concentrated load, and then minus 20x squared for this one, minus 20x squared. Now from segment CB, we haven't considered this portion yet, so let's get the resultant of this cut, because again this is our x, and so this 20x squared will not account for this portion right here. So we will get the resultant of this one. Now that will be 40 times 2, which will be 80. And then this distance will be 1, because that's half of 2. And then the moment of this force, this resultant force about dito sa B will be 80 times 1 plus x. So we will still add here 80 times 1 plus x to account for this portion. And so now let's try to solve for mr. Now to get mr, we will just simply set m prime to 0. So setting m prime to 0 dito, we will have 80x minus 10x squared. So 80x minus 10x squared. And then setting m prime dito to 0, we will have negative 10x squared minus 50 times 5 plus x. Copy na lang natin to. And then let's just remove itong m prime. And so ito na yung equation natin. And then for this one, if we set m prime to 0, we are left with this equation. Tatanggalin na lang natin yung m prime dito. Ito na yung resulting equation. And then for the last one, we have negative 50x minus 20x squared. And so now let's try to get the partial derivative of m with respect to m prime. Now first, let's just expand this one. Magiging 80x minus m prime over 9x, and then minus 10x squared. Now this will become 0 if we will differentiate, because we will treat that as a constant. Again, we will differentiate the moment equation while treating everything as a constant except for p or m prime. Yan yung concept dyan. And then differentiating this one, we will have 0 din, kasi x will be treated as a constant. And then for this one, if we will differentiate, m prime is our variable, and so the constant term will essentially be this term, and so that will be negative x over 9. This is the differentiated form. So our dm over dm prime will be negative x over 9 for the first segment. And then for this one, let's just copy this one, and then let's try to expand. Now all of these terms will just be 0 if we will differentiate, because walang m prime dyan. And so we will just take note of this one. Now if we expand this one, that will become 290 times 3 plus 290x, and then plus m prime over 9 times 3 plus m prime over 9 times x. Now if we will differentiate this one, this will be 0, this will also be 0, and then this will become 3 over 9, because m prime, if differentiated, will become 1, and then this will become x over 9, because this is the constant term, which is the coefficient of m prime. So 3 over 9 plus x over 9. Now 3 over 9 will reduce into 1/3, so this will be 1/3 plus x over 9. So 1/3 plus x over 9. Okay. And so dito na tayo sa third segment. Now let's just copy this one. Now all of these terms will be 0. Saka ito din. And so we are only interested in this one. So that will be 290x if expanded plus m prime over 9 times x. And then if differentiated, this will become 0, and then this one will become x over 9, kasi ito yung variable natin. So this will be x over 9. And then for the last one, for segment DC, we have this function. Now all of these terms are considered constant because walang m prime dyan. And so differentiating this one, it will just become 0. So ito, 0 to. And so now we already have mr and dm over dm prime. And so we will essentially add all of them, the definite integrals, and then we will set that to 0. But first, let's just expand these because mahirap tong integrate. We will not expand. So again, for the first segment, AB, we have 1 over EI and then limit from 0 to x. And then we have MR, which is 80x minus 10x squared multiplied by negative x over 9. And then meron tong dx. Now, if we will expand this one, we will have 80x squared over 9 and then minus 10x cubed divided by 9. And so we will be integrating this function from 0 to x. 1 over EI and then this will have dx. And then for the next one, let's just expand this right away. Now, lagay ko na lang dito. This is for segment BE. So, segment BE. This is our MR. But first, let's expand this one para hindi na tayo mahirapan later. So, this will be negative 10x squared minus 250 and then minus 50x and then minus 500 and then minus 200x plus 290 times 3 and then plus 290x. Now, let's join the like terms. Let's first start dito sa constants. Negative 250 minus 500 plus 290 times 3. Now, that will be 120. So, this will be negative 10x squared and then plus 120. And then, let's join the terms with x as their variable. So, negative 50 minus 200 and then plus 290. And so, that will be 40x. So, this is our simplified equation for MR for this segment. And so, we will integrate from 0 to 6 minus x. Again, because this is the limit. And then, let's copy MR, which is negative 10x squared plus 40x plus 120. And then, we will multiply this by 1/3 plus x over 9. And then, we can further expand this one. So, copy natin to. Let's distribute this one. Lahat ng to, essentially. So, this will become 1 over EI from 0 to 6 minus x. And then, negative 10x squared over 3. And then, minus 10x cubed divided by 9. Itong dalawa. And then, plus 40x times 1/3, which is 40x over 3. And then, plus 40x times x over 9, which is 40x squared divided by 9. And then, 120 times 1/3 or 120 over 3. And then, plus 120 times x over 9. So, that will be 120x divided by 9. And so, let's join the like terms. Itong merong x squared, itong mga merong x. And then, yan lang. So, this will be 1 over EI, integral from 0 to 6 minus x. And then, minus 10x cubed over 9. Plus the sum of this one, which is 10 over 9 times x squared. And then, plus the sum of these, which is 80 over 3, and then x, and then plus this constant term, which is 120 over 3, and then meron tong dx. So this is our simplified equation for the second segment, which is BE. And then let's try to simplify this one for segment CB. So CB, there's no need to simplify this one because we can already compute the definite integral because these limits are numerical values, not variables. So we will just input this one in our calculators. Now that will be integral from 0 to 3, and then we have MR, which is negative 50 times 2 plus x, this one, minus 20x squared, and then plus 290 times x, and then plus 80 times 1 plus x. And then we will multiply this one by dm over dm prime, which is x over 9 times x divided by 9, which will give us 265. Now, there might be some error because what I was able to compute earlier was 25. Now, let's try to check. For segment CB, we have negative 20x squared, and then minus 50 times 2 plus x, and then plus 290 times x, plus 80 times 1 plus x. Okay, this should be minus because again our origin is from the right, and so clockwise movements will be negative. This 80 kn resultant will cause a clockwise movement about dito sa B, so take note of this. Now let's just change this one. The sign here should be negative, and so that will be 25. So this is the integral from 0 to 3, and then we have this function multiplied by x over 9, which will give us 25. And so now let's integrate these functions, ito saka ito. And then we will add all of them, and then let's set that to 0. Now again, we will not be integrating this one because negative 50x minus 20x squared times 0 will be 0 lang din. And so for segment DC, we will just obtain a value of 0 because ito yung mangyayari. 1 over EI, integral from 0 to 2, and then we are essentially integrating 0. And so that will still be 0. Now integrating this one, we have 80x cubed divided by 9 and then times 3. Again, plus 1 tayo dito, kaya naging 3. And then, we will multiply this to the denominator. And then, this will be minus 10x. And then, plus 1 tayo dito, magiging 4. And then, we will multiply this one to the denominator. So, this will be 9 times 4. And then, we will apply the limits of 0 to x. So, that will be 80x cubed over 27 minus 10x to the 4th over 36, and then minus 80 times 0 cubed over 27 minus 10 times 0 to the 4th over 36. That's why it's our practice talaga na from 0 yung limit natin. Para if we apply the limits, then we will exclude the second expression because this will just be 0. Ito lang yung gagamitin natin. And so it will be like this. Wala na to. And so we will apply the same concept dito sa segment BE. Again, this is for AB. This is the slope caused by AB. And then for segment BE, if we will integrate this one, we will have negative 10x to the 4th kasi plus 1 dito, and then over 9 times 4. And then plus 10 over 9 plus 1 dito magiging x cubed, and then multiply tayo dito ng 3, and then plus 80 over 3 plus 1 dito magiging x squared, and then this will be times, and then plus integrate natin to magiging 120 over 3 multiplied by x. And so we will apply the limits from 6 minus x from 0 to 6 minus x. So let's just apply the concept dito na hindi na to masasali, and so we will just apply 6 minus x as our limit. So ito magiging negative 10 times 6 minus x to the 4th, and then over 36, and then plus 10x cubed over 27 plus 80x squared over 6, and then finally plus 120 over 3 times x, and then this is multiplied by 1 over EI. But again, this won't matter because we will just set the slope to 0 and we will multiply EI to the left side, and so magka-cancel lang to. So ito yung gagawin natin. Again, the slope at the maximum deflection will be 0. So this will be, we will set the slope to 0, and then again, our slope is equal to slope at the max deflection, or simply the slope at E. We will set that to 0. So the slope at E will be the summation of all these. Ito plus ito, and then plus itong 25, and then itong 0. So we will have 1 over EI multiplied by 80x cubed divided by 27, and then minus 10x to the 4th divided by 36, and then plus this expression, so copy na lang natin, and then plus 25, and then plus 0, and then we will set this to 0. Again, we will multiply this by EI, and then also this one by EI. So ito magka-cancel, and then because we are setting this to 0, yan yung reason na mawawala lang yung EI dito. And so now we can solve for x. Let's just type this whole function dito sa calculators natin. So bale 0 is equal to 80x cubed over 27, and then minus 10x to the 4th divided by 36, and then minus 10 times 6 minus x to the 4th divided by 36, and then plus 80x squared over 36, and then plus 120 over 3 times x, and then plus 25. Ito na yung equation na yan. And then we will set that to 0. So press shift solve, makukuha na natin yung maximum deflection. Now medyo may mali dito. Kasi dapat 4.23. So let's try to check. Ito pala. This is negative x over 9. So this should have been negative. This is negative, and this will be plus after distributing this one. So this will be minus, and then this will be plus. So minus, then plus. And so dito, we will have minus and then plus. So this should be minus, and this is plus. Now I just change this one to 40, itong 120 over 3, so that we can track our solutions easier. Saan kaya ito nagkamali? Dito pala. We weren't able to change this one to 6 minus x. So again, we are applying the limits from 0 to 6 minus x. This should also be 6 minus x. Saka ito din. And then also this one. So 40 times 6 minus x. So erase ko na lang to. And then let's change that to this one. And so we will set this to 0. Now medyo mahirap na to i-type sa calculator natin. And so what's easy to do dito is to store these coefficients into a variable. Now let's just say that 80 over 27 will be stored dito sa A, ito, and then let's store this one into another variable, saka ito din, and then ito, and then also ito. So let's just say we will store this dito sa A, and then since itong 10 over 36 saka 10 over 36 are essentially the same, we will just store that sa B, but we will not forget na plus dito, and then dito minus, and then itong 10 over 27 I will store that sa C, and then itong 80 over 6 I will store that sa D. So type ko na yan dito. So, that will be negative 80 over 27. Ito yung A natin. So, store ko yan sa A. And then, 10 over 36 will be andito sa B. Yan. And then 10 over 27 will be stored sa C. And then 80 over 6 will be stored at 80 over 6 dito sa D. And so yung pag-type ko niyan is A times x cubed and then plus B times x to the fourth and then minus B times 6 minus x to the fourth and then ito C times plus C times 6 minus x squared cubed plus D times 6 minus x squared and then plus 40 times 6 minus x and then plus itong 25. And so I will set this to 0 kasi again we are setting the slope to 0 because that's where the maximum deflection occurs. And so press shift solve, makukuha na natin yung location of the maximum deflection which is 4.239870869. So the location of the maximum deflection is at 4.239870869 and then this is in meters. So this is our answer for the first question. This is for the location of the maximum deflection. And so now, if we will try to compute for the maximum deflection, we will be using this distance. However, instead of applying a unit moment, m prime, we will be applying p because we are now interested in the deflection. So this will be p. Again, let's just remove this one and then let's change m prime into p. Now, ito na lang yung color na gagamitin ko. So this will be P. And then if we will try to solve for the reaction, magbabago na din yan. Hindi na M prime over 9 kasi we are applying P na. And so if I will take moments about C, I will have AY times 9 minus 120 times 6 and then minus P times this distance. Again, meron na tayong X. Yung X natin is, ano ulit yan? Let's just say 4.24. So if X is 4.24, then 6 minus X will be 6 minus 4.4. That will be 1.76. And so let's just change this one into 1.76. And so I will multiply P by 1.76 plus itong 3 kasi that's the moment arm of this load patungo dito sa C. And then I also have minus 200 times 0.5 and then plus 50 times and then equate ko to 0, I will get AY in terms of P. So that will be AY is equal to 120 times 6 and then plus P times 4.76 plus 200 times 0.5 magiging 100 and then plus 50 times 2 which is also 100 and then I will divide this by 9 and so this will be this is minus, this will be 80 plus P times 4.76 divided by 9. So that's approximately 0.53. So 0.53p. And then summing up forces vertical, we have AY plus CY is equal to 120 plus 200 and then plus 50. And then let's not forget itong P dito. So plus P. And so this will be 80 times plus P times 0.53 plus CY is equal to 370 plus P. And then isolating CY, we have CY is equal to, move natin to dito, magiging minus 370 minus 80 will be 290 and then P minus 0.53p will be 1 minus 0.53 which is plus 0.47. Ito na yung CY natin. Now again, yung magbabago lang dito is yung expression na i-add or ima-minus natin sa reaction dito. So, 'di ba, yung AY natin magiging 80 plus 0.53p. So, let's just change this one. So, plus 0.53p. And then our CY will be 290 plus 0.47p. So, ito magiging plus 0.47p. And so, itong mga M prime dito, I will just change that one because yung limits natin are still the same but itong 0 to x magiging 0 to 4.24. And then itong BE itong 6 minus x will be 1.76. So, I will change this one into 1.76. And then, itong M prime over 9 magiging plus 0.53p. And then, ito din, magiging 0.3p. And also this one. This will be 0.47p. Itong katugma ng 290. So, 0.47p. Saka ito din. Now, our MR will still be the same. Because if we will set p to 0, ito lang din yung equation natin. However, what will change is itong partial derivative because we will need dm over dp. Now I'll just move this one and then let's try to solve for dm over dp. So for the first moment equation, we have this function. Now if we will expand this, magiging 80x plus 0.53p multiplied by x and then minus 10x squared. So differentiating this one, considering p as our variable, this will be 0, this will be 0, and then differentiating this one, we have 0.53x since this is our coefficient of p, and then if we will differentiate p, magiging 1. So dm over dp for the first segment will be 0.53 times x. And then for the second one, we are not interested in these expressions because walang p dyan. So we will only include this one. And then if we will expand that, magiging 290 times 3 plus 290x and then plus 0.47p multiplied by 3 and then plus 0.47x. And so ito magiging 0 kasi walang p dyan. And then this will be 3 times 0.47 which is 1.41 p and then plus 0.47x. 0.47p multiplied by x. Now, differentiating these, we will have 1.41 plus 0.47x. Ito na yung equation natin. So, let's write that dito. So, 1.41 plus 0.47 times x. And then, for this segment, we are not interested in these expressions because wala yung p. And so, ito na lang yung i-differentiate natin. Ito. So, again, expanding that one, magiging 290 times x plus 0.47p multiplied by x. And then, differentiating this, magiging constant to, so 0, and then plus 0.47x. Kasi ito yung coefficient ng p. So, this will be 0.47x. And then ito, magiging 0 lang din. Kasi we don't have an expression that contains p dito sa moment equation natin. So, let's just input these in our calculators. So, again, for segment AB, we have 1 over EI, integral from 0 to 4.24. And then, we have MR multiplied by 0.53 times x. And then for BE, we have 1 over EI integral from 0 to 1.76. And then let's just copy this expression and then we will multiply this by 1.41 plus 0.47 times x. And then meron tong dx dito. Saka dito din. And then for CB, we have 1 over EI integral from 0 to 3. And then let's just copy this expression and then let's multiply this one by 0.47x. Again, this should be negative and then dx. So let's just use our calculators and then we have 0 to 4.24 and then 80x minus 10x squared times 0.3x. And so that will give us 649.08. And then this will be knm cubed over EI. Saka ito din. Now for the second one, we have BE from 0 to 1.76 and then negative 10x squared minus 50 times 5 plus x minus 200 times 2.5 plus x and then plus 290 times 3 plus x. And then we will multiply that one by 1.41 plus 0.47x. And so that will be 469.76. And then lastly, we have segment CB. Again, we are not including segment DC because dm over dp will just be 0. And so if we will integrate that one, it will just give us 0. So from 0 to 3, we have negative 50 times 2 plus x and then minus 20x squared plus 290 times x minus 80 times 1 plus x. And then we will multiply that by 0.47x. And so that will be 105.75. 105.75. Now, if we sum up all of these, we will get the deflection at point E, which is our maximum deflection. So the deflection at E is equal to our maximum deflection, which is 649.08 plus 469.76 and then plus 105.75. But again, we will divide that by EI. So this will be 649.08 plus 469.76 and then plus 105.75, which will be 1224.59. So 1224.59 knm cubed divided by EI. This will be our maximum deflection. But again, we have a value for E and a value for I. And so we will substitute this one. Let's copy this and then let's write that here. Now our maximum deflection will be Y max is equal to 1224.59 knm cubed divided by EI, which is 70, and then multiplied by, we have to convert this one into MPa to make our units consistent. So this will be 70 times 10 to the 3 to convert GPa to MPa, and then multiplied by 50 times 10 to the power of 6. So 50 times 10 to the power of 6. And then to make this n mm cubed, we will multiply this by 1000 to the 4th. Again, m cubed should be multiplied by 1000 cubed, and then kn should be multiplied by 1000 so that it will be n mm cubed. And so let's just input this. So 1224.59 times 1000 to the 4th over 70 times 10 to the power of 3 times 50 to the power of 6 times 10 to the power of 6. It will give us 349.88. So 349.88 knm cubed. This will be in mm, and so this will be our answer. Now if we will try to check that here, we can do that. Let's try to model our beam. So we have a span of 6 plus 3 plus 2, 11. And then we have a simple support at 0 and 9. And then we have a distributed load of 20 from 0 to 6. And then we have a distributed load of 40 from the free end up to here. This is 40. And we have a concentrated load of 50 at the free end. So this is 50. And so this will be our reactions, 290 and 80. Now let's try to input our material properties. Our E is 70 GPa, and then our I is 50 times 10 to the power of 6. So this will be 50. This will have 7 zeros, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We will be able to get the maximum deflection, which is 349.88, this one. And so our answer is correct.